Our speaker this morning is Jerry Zhu. Jerry is a four-year boarding student from Beijing, China. He is an editor-in-chief of The Record, which is Hill's literary magazine, and co-editor-in-chief in The Dial. He's also the proud roommate of Luke Gerdeman. Jerry?
Imagine for a moment that 10 days into summer break, you had to go back to school to get your final exams back. Sounds like a nightmare, right? At my local Chinese elementary school, that's what we had to do. I distinctly remember getting my third grade English exam back on such a day. I had gotten 2 points off for messy writing. To wit, I had forgotten to write the curvy little tails at the ends of my lowercase l's. A serious transgression, I know. The issue of handwriting stayed in the back of my mind through middle school until it resurfaced one day in my third form year. Handing my assignment back, Mr. Gettings remarked that he had almost confused what I had written down, an X, for a different symbol, an infinity. I could see why. In a quick stroke of the pencil, the way in which I wrote my X, a continuous stroke, looked like the infinity symbol. At that point, I had to recognize something. Yes, handwriting is an important skill, and people who commented on it weren't just nitpicking. It was impeding my communication. And though I did end up working to improve my handwriting, something else called to me. If my handwriting wasn't great, perhaps I could at least improve my digital work. It was then that I stumbled across the field of typesetting. Now, I suspect most of you have at least heard of the word typesetting or have a general idea of what it entails. But for the uninitiated, I think it would be best to consider a quick example together. If you know how to write a lowercase a, raise your hand. Oh, good. It would be a bit worrying if that wasn't the case. Now, if you know how to write a two-story A or a computer A, that is the A you might see in printed material, raise your hand. You may want to try tracing it with your finger if that helps. That's good. You can put your hands down now. Now, for those of you who don't know what a two-story A looks like, you can take out the hymnal that you have in front of you. Take a look at the word A in hymnal that's on the cover. So that's what a two-story A looks like, if you were wondering. But here's the more interesting one. If you know how to write a lowercase g, raise your hand. Okay. Now, I suspect what almost all of you are thinking right now is that you would make a counterclockwise loop and then a hook below to write that G. Good. Now, if you know how to write a two-story G or a computer G, that is the G you might see in printed material, raise your hand. Apparently, studies show that only about 2% of people can actually write the two-story G accurately. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can take out the white folders that you have in front of you. On page 4, take a look at the G's in the title, Lord Through Changing Days Unchanging. Now I'm gauging based on the reaction that that was a bit of a surprise, maybe, but typesetting is the field that deals with this sort of question: how to format printed material and make it look good on a page. Typesetters concern themselves with minutiae like how the right-hand side of a book is always odd, is always numbered odd, how much space to put between lines of text, and how to avoid having a single line at the start of a page. Since math was one of the only subjects that I had to actually handwrite my homework in, I decided to figure out if I could typeset my mathematical work. I found out about LaTeX, a program commonly used in the publishing industry to typeset books and articles. After getting approval from Dr. Rhodes to start using LaTeX when working on my homework problems, I was ecstatic. Though the learning curve was quite steep, soon my assignments looked quite polished. I shall leave no comment on what the first few looked like. For more than a year, though, I didn't do much typesetting outside of math, but I was always looking for more opportunities, and one came up. In March of last year, I heard about The Record, our school's literary magazine. After applying, I got a chance to typeset the magazine. This was the opportunity I had been waiting for. Typesetting The Record required a shift in perspective for me. Though I originally focused on how to accurately recreate the formatting I saw in textbooks, I now had a lot more creative leeway. I asked myself questions that had no right answers, like, what's a font that's more interesting than Times New Roman, but isn't too distracting? How much margin space do you need on a page? Or how do I make images and text coexist peacefully? Trust me, for those of you who hate it, following MLA or Chicago style is a lot easier than having to make your own decisions. I've continued my typesetting journey since then, but one question has stayed with me. How did an interest originating in mathematics become one that could be applied to literature and humanities? One of my teachers at Hill once said that I would better belong in a more technical school, one with a more narrow academic focus. But respectfully, I would have to disagree. I'd like to call attention to an often overlooked phrase that describes the Hill education we are so fortunately afforded: liberal arts. We are encouraged and sometimes required to engage in a huge variety of academic subjects and activities in our time at Hill. To some, this might seem restrictive, but it also opens many doors. I have much to thank for a liberal arts education. Without it, I could not have connected my experience in mathematical typesetting to creating a literary magazine. The liberal arts curriculum at Hill has allowed me to study advanced mathematics and science while still enjoying the sublime pentameters of Shakespeare and the verses of Virgil. Surely, though, you might think, I must have a favorite out of these subjects. About a week ago, I was talking with a third form student here who, upon seeing that I was reading a physics textbook, remarked, it's like all you sixth formers have everything figured out. You certainly seem like you know what you're going to do in life. And perhaps the sixth formers have some thoughts on that. But here's my answer to that. No, I absolutely don't at this point. But I'm neither worried nor in a rush to figure it out. As Hill students, we are often pressured to find something we're good at. After all, most of us are admitted to this school precisely because we are exceptionally good, or at least show promise in one field, whether that's academic, artistic, or athletic. My experience in learning typesetting has made me realize that my abilities as an individual are not so limited. There's no need for me to confine myself to what I've previously done or am good at. And even though I probably won't pursue a career in typesetting, it is something that has enriched my experience at Hill and will stay with me for a long time. To those of you who are in the same spot as me, if you're unsure of what your passion to pursue is, or if you just like everything, I would like to offer a word of encouragement. I certainly don't profess to have a grand plan for what I want to do in college and beyond, and it really isn't necessary to have one. Especially at Hill, you're given the chance to explore areas that are way beyond what you may be good at. It's part of a liberal arts education. Take advantage of it. Seize the opportunity and find your typesetting, whatever it may be. And to those of you who are specialists and have much more experience in your field, to the excellent writers and poets, to the committed athletes and team captains, and to the most talented musicians, vocal artists, and performers in the audience, I also ask you to take advantage of what Hill can give you, even if it's outside your area of expertise. For my part, I decided to audition for theater this year, despite never stepping on a stage to perform in my life or having been involved in theater in any way before. And in the spring, you'll get to see me as the Lord of Wessex in Shakespeare in Love, a role I simply cannot wait for. Take advantage of the opportunities here. They won't be with you forever. I ask you to go find your typesetting or your theater. And finally, to those of you who found the double-story G interesting, I ask you to perhaps be the next typesetters of Hill. Just shoot me an email. Thank you.